Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the What, Why, and How Can I podcast. Thank you so much for joining and tuning in. I would love to introduce to you our guest, Banks Baker. Correct. His first name is Banks, last name Baker. A little bit about him. An entrepreneur investing $1 billion into Greensboro. A serial entrepreneur. We'll find out what brand later. We'll brand a cereal. And a Greensboro real estate fund. He does something with the fund out there. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and share with your friends. An awesome episode with this young man from the East Coast of the United States. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I've been following you a little bit on Instagram and very interested in what you do. So I'd love to hear about pretty much what the title of the podcast is, what you do, why you do it, and how others can be part of what you do or kind of do their thing. I even saw you posting investment opportunities for people, so on and so forth. First, let's talk about like what it is you do, what industry, kind of, introduce yourself maybe if I missed something.
Yeah. So all of this got started from a buddy I met working at a car dealership a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Chase Strange, and he approached me about starting an axe throwing business. And he had visited his sister, who was an Atlanta Falcons cheerleader, visited her in Atlanta with his father, and they went axe throwing, and they spent like $50 a person per night or per hour to throw.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back home and he's like, man, this is a great, like, you only need wood and an axe and you can make money. Like, This is the best business model I've ever seen. So he approached me with that, and we were like, okay, well, let's build a mobile version of this. So we were like, I think the next day we started looking on Craigslist, and we found a $400 trailer in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So we jumped in our truck, drove to Virginia, bought a trailer. And then in his backyard, we spent 18 days. We taught ourselves how to weld, and we built an axe trailer from the ground up.
That's awesome.
We spent every last dollar we had. I think we had $5,000 to our name. We spent it all to build this trailer, and we finished it like the day of the event. Went to the event, made $1,000, and was like, wow, there's money here. There's money to be made. So our first year we made about $150,000. And what the cool thing about that is most of it's profit because you don't have a lot of overhead.
Right.
And that business led into us transitioning to a full size, like 5,000 square foot facility. So we started building that out. And then COVID hit. So we were set to open March 2020, and COVID hit and we couldn't open. And we had dumped like every dollar we made from the business. We had taken an investor on who was a developer locally.
Mm-hmm.
He invested $75,000. So we actually pitched to him the deal and was like, hey, would you like to be a partner? And that taught me a lot, like going in and pitching my idea, and this guy that's this prestigious developer trusting us with money and saying yes, gave me the confidence. I'll kind of get to this later, but it gave me the confidence to where I am today to go out and try to raise $100 million. So I asked for $75,000 first, and I'm like, well, you can ask for any amount of money if you've got a plan on how to spend it.
Right,
it's like,
right.
I just got to think bigger. So yeah, he said yes. We put like probably $225,000 into this bar, and then we couldn't open it. So, which kind of led to where I am now. So, couldn't open it. We signed a lease for like $14,000 a month to lease this building. And, through the pandemic, I'm just like, man, that's a lot of money to pay every month to lease a building that you're never going to own.
Yeah.
So, I just started watching what this developer was doing, what he was charging us. And I kind of took a step back and was like, man, I'm 30 years younger than this developer. I probably have a better understanding of what millennials and Gen Zs want in Greensboro than he may have.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I just do what he's doing? And it kind of came to the realization, like, I'm going to need a lot of cash. I'm going to need a lot of money to do something like this. Like, I'm going to need to own a bank, essentially.
Yeah.
Like,
and monopoly money is not going to work.
No, it's not. I was like, so around that same time, like all of this is kind of happening, I get an ad on Instagram from Bridger. His name is Bridger Pennington.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to him. He's Investment Fund Secrets. You can follow him on Instagram, but he teaches you how to launch a fund. And with a fund, he says it's the greatest vehicle on earth for creating wealth. And you can use a fund for any, like he says that there's people in his program that have funds that buy almond farms, like almond tree farms. And
Bunch in
like,
California.
dude, yeah, you can do anything with a fund. You can do stocks, you can do real estate, you can do crypto. So I kind of looked at where I wanted to go, and I had all these ideas to try to make Greensboro better. Like I'm trying to make Greensboro like a Charlotte or a Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of early. I feel like I'm 10 years early to the party, but I'm right at the cusp of like a lot of new development happening. So if I get in now, it's like hitting the gold rush. You know, if you
Okay.
get in, you're catching the wave at the right time. So I got that ad. I bought his course. I put the money together. I didn't have the money to buy the course at the time, and I like messaged him. I was like, "Hey man, I really want to buy your course. Will you give me a few days? I'm going to put the money." It was like running a special,
Yeah.
and so I bought. And that course changed my entire life. I cannot give enough credit to that course. Between that course and Marty Kotis, the developer, saying yes to our $75,000 pitch, those two things gave me the courage to do what I'm doing now,
Wow.
which is dream bigger. And if you know how to pitch something and sell something, and then if you can ask for money, then money's not a problem anymore. Yeah,
That's crazy. So do you have like a background in development, background in like construction?
none. My father owned an auto repair shop growing up, and
Okay.
he bought real estate around it. So I got to see a little bit of commercial estate from a young age.
Yeah.
Nothing in the development, no construction. I actually went to get my real estate license, spent 2 years going through all the courses. I failed it 3 times. I finally passed the test,
Uh-huh.
got final test, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to sell properties to other people. I want to buy properties, right? I don't want to be the one brokering them. I want to be the one buying them.
Yeah.
So my mom was a real estate agent, and she's 61. She actually came up today. She's 61, and she works 19 hours a day as a real estate broker. So she makes 450 grand a year, but she has 4 hours a day to spend that money,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
she's got to sleep at some point. So like I kind of like watched her, and I watched my brother who has a real estate license, and I'm like, do I really want that life? Do I really want to be a real estate broker? And I think a lot of people think that to get into real estate, you have to become a broker. But I would encourage people to skip that. That's kind of like if you're trying to grow wealth or do development or buy apartments, like that's just going to slow you down. It's not going to actually like it, it makes practical sense, but it would take you 5 to 10 more years to get where you want to be
It's
because
I'm imagining it kind of like if you're trying to learn how to ride a bike and you know how to push yourself off and start pedaling, don't put on the training wheels.
yeah, it's going backwards, right? Yeah, and it's funny because I actually met with a guy the other day who is a commercial broker, and he's like, well, "What are you doing for income right now?" I was like, "This thing's going to take you 10 years to do. Like, you need to go get your real estate license." And I was like, that's a terrible idea. Like, if I go do that, it is going to take me 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, I have to. I feel like I genuinely feel like I'm 3 feet from gold. I'm so close. Like, all I need is my first investor to say, here's your first million to the
Yeah.
fund. And that just catapults you. That's kind of like originally I was only going to raise like 10 or 20 million. And then I started to realize like that was only going to develop one thing. So I kind of took a step back and like, if I really want to impact the city, I need to dream bigger and ask for more money.
Yeah.
And then I read something yesterday that said if you're raising money and you raise under 100 million, you're actually considered more of a risk to an investor. So if you're
Mm.
raising 100 million or more, they see it as like, okay, this guy's less risky because he's taking more funds from more people and he's diversifying it into more things. Whereas if you're a small $10 million fund, like 10 million sounds like a lot of money, but for a fund, that's small.
Yeah.
And that is a higher risk. So I learned this yesterday. So if I would have gone out and tried to pitch a $20 million fund, I probably would have had a harder time raising the money than asking for 100 million. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's true. People see it as, they're mitigating the risk.
See, that's crazy because one example that comes to mind right away is like when somebody doesn't want to raise their prices because they're afraid that people might start either booking them or shopping there, and then
Yep.
someone says, no, I promise you, just try it, and they raise their prices, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh wow, that's a really nice expensive place, and they're getting more bookings or more business than they would if they stayed cheap.
And you're getting better clients.
Yeah,
So like
that's
if you're
crazy.
raising, you get a cheaper.
There has to be like a rule, like a name for that, like banks something.
Yeah, I don't, it's, I think it's just a mindset shift, really. It's like, you know what, I'm going to take this risk, and I don't. Yeah, you're right. There's got to be. I'm going to look up. There's got to be some kind of name for that. You're right.
I will do that, David. If you have a second, if you can just see if there's anything that's there, like if you increase a price or something or a number, it attracts more people. That there's some kind of law of attraction right there.
There is, and it reminded me. I was watching this Instagram podcast, and the guy was like, "I'm going to tell you how to make more money right now. How to double your business in the next 30 days."
Yeah.
It was so simple. He's like, "Double your price." That's all he said. He's like, "Whatever you're charging, double it. That's how you're going to double your business. Like, charge more." It was that simple. And like people just don't like, even with the axe throwing business, like when we were first started, we were running around like running our tails off for $200 events. Now we won't come out unless you're paying us $800 to $1,200 to show up
Right.
for a price. So we have a minimum. We've set a standard, and if you don't meet it, then you can't hire us. It's kind of like with investment. Like if you're not an accredited investor, you're not allowed to invest in the fund.
Right.
So you have to have a certain net worth, and you have to have a certain, like a minimum amount of money to even be considered to invest. Like I can't just take $5,000 from you or from anyone. You have to be considered an accredited investor.
Right. This axe throwing business. Let's back up a little bit. I already envision after this podcast watching people's stories, and they're trying to build an axe throwing trailer. Because here in California, a Sacramento area, I'm tied into the Slavic community very tightly.
Okay.
So the Ukrainian, Russian community, Moldovan, kind of all those type of people, and beautiful people. And the community here is huge, and they all love these little businesses, like these little wedding businesses and all this stuff. So you guys, if you heard it here first, and you heard it from Banks Baker. So if you want to go out there and hustle, that's what it takes is hustle.
And better yet, if you want to start your own mobile axe throwing business, you can buy a franchise from us. So we sell franchises now.
Really?
Yep. For 75 grand, you get the trailer, all the business systems, you get 6 months of marketing. We set up your website and Instagram. We basically give you our business model that makes 150 grand a year for 75 grand.
Where can they find that?
They can find that. They can message me on Instagram, just at Banks Baker, or they can go to the Flying Hatchet Instagram, or they can just shoot me a text, and we can jump on a call and talk about it.
Perfect. And we'll put a link under the video here when we post this. You guys can find that in the description of the video. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. My phone number is 704-770-5678. Easy enough.
Boom. There you go.
Yep,
okay. Man. Awesome. So, commercial.
And if you recommend somebody that buys it, I'll pay you a referral fee of $7,500.
Boom. $7,500 referral fee. So if you guys reach out to Banks Baker, please just, a little mention. Yeah, we heard it on the How Can I podcast and came there. That would help us out immensely. Thank you for that. Commercial real estate. So to me, it's crazy how you don't grow up in like a contractor's family. You don't your mom was a real estate agent, but it's more like just a sales type of thing. It's not like, because development is a lot of guts, is a lot of like gore, construction gore. If you're in construction, you know exactly what I'm talking. Architect, engineers, permits, licenses, it's disgusting. But you have to love that stuff to be in it. So what, besides kind of all the numbers making sense in your head, what makes you want or made you want to kind of jump in there?
It was driving through my city. So during the pandemic, almost every single day I would drive downtown, and just like it was a ghost town. It was like tumbleweeds on the streets. Like I'm not exaggerating. Every single day during the pandemic, I drove down. And I would just drive. I would spend a lot of time driving through my city, and I'm just like, man, this city sucks. Like we don't have, we just don't have anything here that makes people want to stay. Like we have 7 colleges and yet we're not growing as a city. That's an issue. If you have 7 colleges and people aren't staying and they're leaving after college, that's an issue. Like you and I just kind of like as I was driving on, I would imagine buildings. Like I would just kind of see them in my mind, like what could go here, what could go there. Like we could put modern apartments here. We could build a top golf type concept over here. And I just started like almost like building a utopia in my mind of what could be in the city. And I was like, man, the only way like I could sit here and dream about it all day, but if someone doesn't come and build it, we're never gonna like grow as a city.
Yeah.
Someone has to step up and do it. Like right now, I can name about 4 developers that I know that are doing that in our city. You go to Charlotte, you go to Raleigh, there's hundreds. You come to Greensboro, there's 4. It's like that's an issue. We need like 20 more people that have that same desire that I do to come in and like team up and say, you know what, we're gonna progress our city. We're gonna build something that's worth coming to. Kind
Yeah.
of like Dubai did. Like Dubai took a desert. It was literally an island of sand and water, and
Yeah.
I think they brought in a bunch of sand so that they could build. And they, now it's one of the like most top attractions in the world, right?
Yep.
It's kind of like I don't know. So that's what led me into it. I was just like, man, if someone doesn't build our city, it's gonna die. Like it's just gonna die out. People are not gonna stay here, and they're gonna leave.
Why
So
didn't you why didn't you make the decision to move to another city that had all the attractions?
I think during like it's funny. I actually hated Greensboro when I moved here because I'm from Charlotte, a big city,
Okay.
and something changed during the pandemic. Like I had a heart shift where I actually started to love the city. Like I would drive around and actually I was like, man, I actually like it now. Like I don't even know how to explain it. It was like this heart change where I hated it one year and then a few years later I like grew to love it and I saw the opportunity here and I just something shifted and and I feel like it's kind of almost a supernatural thing. Like there's a reason I'm here and like my whole life I wanted to travel and be like I would have never chose Greensboro. So it's kind of like it feels like it's something outside of me that's drawing me here and keeping me here. And I can't really explain it. I think it may have something to do with God wanting me to be in this city. Like there's a plan that I can't see.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of this is I feel like is not like just a natural. Like I didn't grow up my whole life wanting to be a developer. It just kind of this all came, and now like it came and it won't go away. It's like pounding at me, and it won't just like leave. It's not just a passing thought.
Okay, take me back to maybe the evening or the morning where you decided to tell your wife like, "Hey honey, I'm gonna start developing the city we live in."
Yeah, man, I think it was just a series of things. Well, so like first, the what kind of first I found a motel that was here locally. It's an old motel. It's called the Oaks. It's been sitting here for a while, and I drove by it one day with my business partner Chase, who started the Flying Hatchet, and I was like, man, that has a bunch of doors. I was looking for a multifamily type something with a lot of doors that would produce a lot of money, and I saw that the Oaks Motel, and I was like, all right, let's go talk to the owner. So we just pulled in and asked the owner if it was for sale, and he's like, I actually listed it for sale yesterday. So it is for sale. And so I was like, well, sweet. I want to buy it. Right. And he's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, the price is $2.5 million. So I was like, okay. I've never bought anything for that much before, right. I
Yeah.
bought family homes and then flipped those.
Yeah.
So like, all right, I got to go raise the money because I don't have it. Right. I've got to go raise it from other people. And I started doing the numbers and just started like trying to buy this property. And that was kind of the best learning that I could have had was hands on. Like I took a measuring tape out there and measured every square inch of the property to see how it was going to work. And it's actually we have the largest HBCU university in the nation, right? It's called uh, North Carolina A&T,
Mm-hmm.
and HBCU stands for Historically Black College or University. So
Okay.
it's the number one in the nation right here in Greensboro, and it's like half a mile from this motel.
Oh, nice.
And so I started doing research and learning that A&T was growing by like 1,000 students in the next year. And 60% of their 12, so I think they have 12 or 13,000 students now. 60% of them were actively complaining about the housing. that was offered. So I was just putting all the pieces together. Then I learned that A&T bought up $80 million worth of apartments during the pandemic, during the height of the pandemic, when everybody was laying people off. They were on a shopping spree, buying up apartments. And so I'm like, all right, the school's buying apartments. The students are complaining about the apartments that they're buying. Someone needs to develop new apartments for these kids. Like, if there's 1,000 kids coming and 60% of the current students already hate the dorms, you give them something new. Like, if they're paying $725 a month to live in a place they hate, why don't you charge them the same amount and build them a brand new facility?
Something they love,
Yeah. So I was like, man, why don't we use this Oaks Motel property and build a 12-story, like, massive student housing complex? So I got a quote. I was like, what is it going to cost to demolish this thing? And I got a construction company to come out. It was like $230,000 to demolish everything and haul it off. So then I started like, okay, well, if I'm going to build this, what is it going to cost to build? Like, I'm going to need a parking deck, right? Because with a certain amount of rooms, you have to have 1.5 parking spots per room. You know, there's like laws around zoning, and there's, that's what comes with it. So I'm learning all this the hard way. Like, if I'm going to build this, I'm going to be required to build like a $25 million parking deck. So I just start budgeting out this. I'm like, all right, this is going to cost $90 to $100 million to build, right? So I'm going to need to raise 20% of this, roughly $20 million, to build this thing. So I'm kind of like learning. All of these pieces are coming together, and I'm learning all of this. And I'm like, all right, I need more money. Like, I need to go out and, like, I can't just go ask for a couple $100,000. I need to ask for, like, the only way I'm going to do this is I need millions of dollars. And I just remember nights I would, like, come home and, like, to answer your question about talking about wife, I'm like, honestly, like, if someone gave me $300,000 right now, it would not help me. Like, it would almost hinder me. It'd be like getting my real estate license. Like,
it'd be an insult.
It would. It's like, either I raise millions of dollars or I don't do it at all, because that's the only way. Like, and I just started having that. And then, the fun course came, and I'm like, all right, I just got to go raise millions of dollars. And I need to set my height a lot higher than 20 million, because that's only going to build one project. And with a fund, the way it works is you give your investors a preferred return. So if they invest $1 million, you promise them a 15 to 20% annual return on their money. Plus, they typically get a percentage of profits. Like, if I was ever to sell that asset, they would get 50% of the profits. The fund would get 50% of the profits. So they're getting a yearly return on the money without having to do anything, plus 50% of a sale, which on an asset like that, like, we projected that we could sell it to the school for double what we built it for.
Yeah.
So we could sell $200 million to the school. So there's $100 million in profit. That's insane. Like, where else can you make $100 million in profit on something? It's not out there. So
my question is, where is the school getting $200 million?
Well, they're the largest HBCU in the nation. They have a ton of alumni.
Yeah.
And they bought $80 million of apartments during the pandemic. So that tells me that, one, they could potentially be a partner. Like, hey, do you want to invest $10 million in this build out? You've already spent 80. Why don't your students why don't you invest in this project? You're going to end up owning it one day anyway. Why don't you invest in it?
Right.
So I just started putting, I was like, man, strategic partnerships, raising money, I just kind of, I don't know. It's been a learning. It's like I jumped out of a plane and then I learned how to fly. It's like, I saw a quote recently that was like, good entrepreneurs jump out and learn how to fly on the way down. And that's kind of how I feel like this whole process has been, is I'm like, all right, this is where I want to be. This is the goal. And I'm just going to start walking there. Like, I'm probably going to hit road bumps and, like, fall in puddles and slip down this slope. And it takes me 6 months to figure the way to get back up. But, like, I have a target now, and I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to go get a job over here so I can make $4,000 a week and be comfortable.
Yeah.
This is my mission. This is the vision. And I think that's an important point. It's like, if you have a vision, don't let, like, the more that people try to talk you out of it, the more important it probably is to do. It's like, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He looked delusional for 15 years, and now he's a trillionaire. Now everyone's praising him, but he first told people he wanted to send rockets into space and put people on it and build electric cars. Everyone told him he was an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, even when Tesla's going from 600 to 800, everyone's betting against him. And then now it's like at 1,200 and everyone's still betting against him. I'm like, what is it going to take, dude?
What are you going to learn? Like, yeah. and this guy don't quit. Like you would
Yeah.
have to kill this guy to stop him. That's the only way. Like you look at Elon's track record, like he's almost been bankrupt several times, and he's pushed through. He has a great book on it. It's called, I think it's called Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the Quest for a Fantastic Future.
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredible book. It talks about him selling PayPal, dumping all of his money. Like there was a point where Tesla and SpaceX was doing so bad he was having to borrow money from his parents to pay rent.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then like this was around Christmas time, and I think like a few days before Christmas, a massive investment came in or some big contract for SpaceX that basically saved them from going into bankruptcy.
Yeah, I think that just recently happened too with something. I heard like rumors where he was like about to go bankrupt, and then maybe it was Hertz that saved him with their
Yeah,
huge order or something.
100,000. Yeah, like
That I
they,
mean, like what in the world, right?
that's crazy.
Nobody was expecting that.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That still blows my mind. It's so awesome to talk to people that have a vision and that stick to it, and and nothing else can steer them away. And it just reminds me of a quote, and it says like if you're trying, I don't remember exactly how it goes, but if you're trying to oh my goodness, something along the lines, if you're trying to move out, don't get advice from somebody that's never left the city or something.
wow.
Like usually the people that are going to tell you don't do it is probably the people that haven't developed,
Yeah,
because they
that
can't
have, yeah,
they can't imagine, like me right now, if my brother told me, hey, I'm going to go build a mall over there, I'd be like, okay, dude, you're crazy, bro. Like, what are you
yeah.
talking about?
Well, and it reminds me of another quote I heard the other day. Like any great entrepreneur is a little bit delusional. You almost have to be like
Yeah,
you be practical. Like
that's true.
imagine, yeah, like Elon telling people what he was doing. They're like, you're crazy. Like you're literally like you're living on another world, like in your mind. And that's probably how it kind of seems to people, and it kind of does seem like that. And I had to kind of get away from a certain people, and I think that's another important thing. It's like you can't surround yourself around people that aren't supporting your vision and are kind of like just eating at it. Like they're gonna. It reminds me of another example of where they put a monkey in a cage and they put a banana in there,
Hmm.
and they spray the monkey with water when he tries to go reach for the banana. Right? Have you heard this before?
No, no.
Yeah. So they spray him with water so he doesn't go get the banana. So then they put another monkey in the cage, and that monkey tries to go get the banana. They spray him with water. Eventually, they don't have to use water anymore because the other monkeys in the cage will attack the monkey that goes for the banana because they know that it'll be punished if it goes and tries to get that banana. And they don't want to be punished as a whole, so they'll drag you away from it. I kind of feel like that's a great example for people. They'll kind of like drag you down or drag you away and try to be like, don't go for that. Stay here. Like, go get a job and stay with us. Like,
Yeah.
stay back. Don't go out there and try to do anything crazy. And
Be normal, bro.
yeah, be normal. Be normal. Why are you trying to change the world? Just be like us.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. That is definitely a mindset and somebody um willing to take a risk. But like, is it even a risk? I think like to the for those people, I like for you for example, does it even feel like a risk, or does it just feel like this dream that you have to chase?
Yeah. It's got, I felt like it did for a certain period of time. But after I kind of like passed that test,
Yeah.
now it's like, I can't even explain it. Like, yeah, it is like I can't stop no matter what. Like I would have to die to stop. I can like I'm so deep in the cave.
Yeah.
Like it would take longer to walk out, than just to keep going towards the bottom.
It's
Like
like
like I feel like I'm 20 feet from the gym, but like it's like the Aladdin movie. Imagine trying to run out of that. Have where he goes into that deep cave and
yeah, yeah.
they find the lamp. Like that's how close I feel. And to leave, I would have to run through all that lava and, get a magic carpet to fly me out.
Dude, I'm
'Cause I'm
remembering all the blonde jokes when we were kids, and there's this one blonde joke where, like, how dumb was the blonde or something? She swam across the lake halfway, got tired, and swam back. So it's kind of like that. It's
So
crazy.
to answer the question, I would say, yeah, I do feel that. I feel like so driven now that like, yeah, no amount of money could make me stop. No amount of like, you can't give me a safe enough job. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't pay me $1 million a year to quit.
Wow.
Like because it's not gonna like it's so much more than money to me. And I feel like a lot of the time, I feel like it takes people longer to get things because internally you're getting work done. Like you need to become a certain person before you can reach a certain goal.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it really has less to do with the amount of money you have and everything else, and more to do with your character. And like there's character development that's happening before you can be trusted with $100 million, right? Like
100%.
think that you have to like almost like internal tests you have to pass. And I think for me, one of them was like caring more about like more than just money. Like it has to be bigger than money. And what's interesting is I actually tried to launch this fund about 12 months ago, and I was doing it with all the wrong people.
Mm.
I found this 20-year-old girl that was going to ECU, and I found this other guy who was 24, and I'm 31, and we had all they wanted to do was just like, man, they heard 100 million, they're like, whoa, like we're gonna be rich. It's like they really had no like care for the end result.
Yeah.
You know, I could kind of like at the time I was just like, let's go get this fund launch. And I'm like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And things like even though I was trying to like almost force things to work out, they just weren't.
Okay.
And it like I felt like there was a bigger reason why things weren't working out. And now looking back, a year later, I'm like, man, it's because I needed to meet older people. Like I needed to meet people who are more mature, people who already had experience in commercial real estate. Because like I've already told you, I have none.
Yeah.
And what Bridger talks about in his course is like the cool thing about a fund is if you get a team around you that has 30 years experience, you can leverage their experience when you're pitching investors. You can say, hey, collectively as a group, we have 20 or 30 years experience. If I go out with those three kids and try to raise, like, we don't know what we're doing, but we want you to give us 100 million.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's going to be really hard, not impossible, but hard.
That's crazy. Take me into the room. What's a good pitch? Like I don't know how many times you've pitched for 100 million, but what's a good line that works for you? A pickup
So
line.
that's a good question. I've honestly learned that it's less about trying to get a yes on the spot and more about trying to like build a relationship with the person and getting them to trust you. So I feel like a lot of people think like when you see a movie, you see someone in a boardroom giving a pitch and then like
Shark Tank.
they give a yes on the spot, like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
It's like they're not going to whip $1 million out of their pocket and put it on the table. It's going to be like they're going to go home, think about it, and like. So I've just learned like, one, be yourself. Like, don't try to like. People can pick up when you're trying to be somebody else.
Yeah.
So I would say like one thing I learned was be yourself. I've also am still like the fund is supposed to launch in the spring, so I haven't officially. I've kind of pushed it back to try to what I've been doing the last 8 months is networking, building relationships, meeting. Like I met the mayor the other day, like meeting key people in my city that are going to help because you can have $100 million, but you can't fight City Hall. That's what I've always heard. And like if you don't have the city on your side,
Yeah.
they're going to make it impossible for you to
A
do anything.
hundred percent. Have you ever have you talked to the city about like, hey, I want this development, tax breaks, or anything, any kind of help? Have you been there yet?
I've talked to certain people in the city, but not others. So what I learned is that developer that we did the Axstone business with that we were building out, that the city actually hates him.
Mm.
So he's trying to build big things, but they don't like him. So they're not really letting things like slide and go through. And so now he's in Danville and Eden and everywhere else buying up because they won't really let him build here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kind of like brings you back to the importance of like, you want these people to like you and you want to like, you don't want to piss them off. Like
Right.
these people are who are approving your plans to build your $100 million facility.
Yeah.
So yes and no. I've talked to some people in the city, but I'm also kind of like trying not to rush. Like I don't want to run in and say, "Hey, my name's Banks. Look, I'm here to build." It's like I kind of want to be introduced to these people at the right time. So I'm kind of learning like some aggressive patience is what I call it, where I'm really aggressive. I'm ready to go, but I have to kind of sit back at the same time and be like, "All right, I need to. This seems to be a natural relationship. I need to meet the mayor naturally. I need to meet like these other developers. There's a guy named Roy Carroll here, I don't need to go knock on his door and say, hey, my name's Banks. It's like there's probably a more natural way that I can meet this guy. And so I think timing is everything. Like, try not to rush things before their time, and being patient, um, and building a good team. I think that's like so crucial. And I don't have that figured out yet. I'm still in the process of doing that. But like for me, I'd rather wait another 2 years
Hmm.
and build a great team and then go raise the money than rush out and raise the money with all the wrong people. And then you've got just like you just built yourself a massive headache. And
Yeah, yeah,
got
and they all want your money.
yeah, and they're yeah, exactly. And then one of the people runs away with $2 million from the account. Like you just never like that's what you don't want to happen. And I feel like when you try to rush into things and do things with the wrong people, like it's better to find out people. Like I remember this one guy told me, he's like, I don't normally do business with anyone I haven't known for at least 6 months. So he was saying, kind of like, he set a standard, like, all right, I've got to meet the person and know them for a certain period of time before I just jump into bed with them, you know?
Hmm.
Because essentially when you're going into business, it's like you're going into a kind of a marriage relationship.
Right.
Like you're in it with these people, especially when you're raising this kind of money. So I think I'm just kind of like, I'm learning all of these things that aren't really like, you can't go read a textbook about. Um, but I'm like, life's teaching me them, I'm learning as I go. Um,
That's
I
awesome.
don't,
Well, I hope you, and I think you will find a lot of investors actually. It's better, especially I would say on the West Coast. I'm sure there's opportunities for them to invest here, but real estate here and properties here have skyrocketed so insanely, so
yeah,
much. A lot of people in our community here are moving east. South Carolina, Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina, Florida, um,
Tennessee.
and a bunch of these guys that are trying to build homes and remodel homes and do this stuff. So a lot of people are definitely going out to the East Coast to try to find that gold pot. So
Yeah. And I love the Greensboro market because it's kind of uncharted territory and it's not competitive right now.
hmm
So you can get in, like you're saying, I can buy a piece of land or a building in downtown in the most popular district for $400,000 right now.
so that blew my mind. That brick building that you were walking
Yeah,
through. How much?
400
How much was
it
that?
was only 325 grand. I had to offer 80K over to get it. But still, even at 400, it's cheap.
It's insane because this is downtown with like a restaurant right next to it. I saw like that would never be that much, even like
Now,
in a town like Roseville here. You know.
yeah, it'd be like 2 or 3 million, right, just to
E-
buy it.
exactly. What's the
And then it's
population of
full
Greensboro?
rehab.
Y- Yeah. What's the population of Greensboro?
300,000.
Okay, so that's
But
like a
in the greater kind of like surrounding within like 20-mile radius, I think it's like 800.
okay. That's a really nice sized city right there.
It is. Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's talk. Define. I'm sure there's gonna be a bunch of people listening that are like, "Oh wow, I can I want to go start a fund and make a bunch of money and build stuff." What is a fund? What take? Let's do a little lesson real quick.
Yeah. So in just simple terms, a fund is basically just a pool of money from private investors, um, and they put it into a pot, and you go and invest that money into something, whether it's stocks, crypto, real estate, and then you promise them a return. So like if you're a doctor and you make, let's just say you're a doctor and you make $1 million a year, or you make 800,000 a year, and you don't have time to go out and shop real estate or look for crypto or look for stocks, you can put your money in a fund with other people. So you have 30, 50, 100 people in this fund, and you're safer because you're diversified. You have more people. You're not going out and, as a doctor, trying to buy one piece of real estate. You're putting in a fund where they're buying hundreds of real estate, or they're buying multifamily that's already cash flowing. So it's a like kind of a safer way to get exposure to assets without directly owning them,
Okay.
and it's kind of like a safer way. But yeah, I bought. I would, if anyone's interested in a fund, I would highly recommend going to Bridger Pennington's Instagram and buying his course. It's like, I think it's 2 grand, and they run specials for like $900 so like around Christmas time and Thanksgiving they'll run a 999 special. But that fund, like that $1,000 course or $2,000, has probably mean, for me, it has $100 million worth of value, right?
Yeah.
But has at least $1 million worth of value. So like, you're not going to be buying something that isn't valuable. The biggest thing is people probably just won't finish it because it takes a week or two to finish. But I would highly recommend like his program. His father runs a $25 billion fund with a B. So they buy multifamily assets, and their fund is 25 billion. And as the fund manager, his father gets a 2% management fee every year. So you can
Wow.
do the math on that. He makes like
25 2% of 25 billion, right?
yeah every year just to manage it.
That's
So
crazy.
that gives you like, and that doesn't include any other profits from the fund, or when they sell a multifamily asset, or profits from rents. So
Right. So I heard rumors of like America going away from this from ownerships where citizens or people are not going to own BlackRock buying up all the real estate in the United States. Everyone's going to be renting. What is
mhm.
give me some thoughts and opinions on that, all that stuff.
I do feel like that's true. I mean, I'm in an apartment right now. I've owned houses and now I'm in an apartment. So I'm kind of like a prodigy of that. I do think that's where we're going. So I think the rental market's only going to increase. And that's kind of why, I'm getting into development to build more of these places because people are going to need them. And we've run out of places here to buy. So if you're not building them and there's nothing left to buy, you're basically forced to build. You have to develop. And if you don't, someone else from Kansas or Los Angeles or someone's going to
Yeah.
come in, and so it might as well be us. But yeah, I subscribe to that. And another interesting thing that I came across, I actually talked to a guy today. I'm going to be talking to him next week, but merging crypto and real estate. So the tokenization of real estate assets. So imagine like when you go on the stock market, you can buy a percentage of Coke, right? Of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So imagine doing that where you can go on and buy a coin, and that coin represents a physical ownership of a portion of real estate. So, like that brick building I'm buying in downtown, if I wanted to go raise the money, you could buy a token that could later be sold to somebody else much easier than you trying
Then
to,
one unit.
yeah, they're trying to sell your position in the investment. I can sell my coin here, this, and it's going to appreciate in value as the asset appreciates, right? So
Mm.
I don't know a ton about that field. I'll know more next week, but all during the pandemic, like with crypto on a rise, me personally invested in crypto. I'm like, there's got to be a way. I just couldn't get this thought on mine. There's got to be a way to merge crypto and real estate where you can own a token of a real estate, like you pull money together through tokens and
Yeah.
buy assets. So like more than just like Shiba Inu, what is that? What is that supported by? Right? Imagine a coin that was supported by a tangible piece of real estate. It would be
Yeah.
safe,
Way safer and people would be way more confident. So I had
right?
this crazy idea yesterday. I listened to the PBD podcast. Um and I'm sure you've heard this word like so NFTs, metaverse, and that whole world is insane to me. But people are buying these NFTs and building virtual museums, right?
Hmm.
Where you will be able to put on a headset, uh, lay down in your massage chair, and disappear for 7 hours out of your real life, and
And
go
go walk.
travel the metaverse, go visit a museum, go do this, go do that, and I'm just like, why can't we start buying? Like, if you're living in the metaverse, people are just gonna come back to real life to get a drink, go to the bathroom, get some coffee.
Don't need to eat
Yeah, they'll need to eat and they'll come
or
back
have tubes.
or something crazy. That's another business. They'll be back to their metaverse, and in their metaverse, they're gonna want to have a nice home that they're
Hmm.
gonna be able to afford for much cheaper than they are in real life.
Interesting.
NFT real estate.
It's a thing. I mean, there's a massive company that I just heard of
Okay,
that
fill me in.
they spent $1 million to
Yeah.
buy a piece of virtual real estate in the metaverse. They're a development firm. I'll have to find the article and send it to you, but they're like a development firm, and they bought this land and like you can't even physically see it, but they spent $1 million on it. And you're like, if that doesn't tell you something big is coming, then you're not paying attention, right? Like, what company is going to go spend $1 million of their hard-earned money for digital land? But they did it. I think I think they're because they want to. It's almost like they want to put their billboard, or they're kind of like, because if you think about it, like, how are brands going to advertise? They're going to have to advertise in the metaverse, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
going to have to. There's going to be billboards. There's going to be like, if Keller Williams wants you to know about them, they're going to have to build a Keller Williams like office,
Yeah.
with their on it. It's kind of like
And
you're gonna.
we all thought learn to code was a joke. Here we all the coders are going to be building the metaverse.
Yeah, yeah, and dude, I am probably the wrong person to ask deep about the metaverse because this is all. I'm just as shocked as everyone else that Facebook changed their name. Like, I had no idea this was coming.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a crazy world we live in. It
Dude,
really.
insane. Yeah, if you find that article, that'd be very interesting. I mean, I'm sure we won't have multi-family in the metaverse because hopefully everybody's gonna be able to afford that we'll have enough beachfront area there and and all this type of stuff. But that's insane just to think about that you
Yeah,
can make money. Someone will rent a house from you that somebody's coded for you
yeah,
because they don't know how to code. They'll rent it from you to live there for a month to bring their virtual friends over.
yeah. You almost have like an Airbnb.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Airbnb, like you rent it out for the week or the day to
Like
meet your.
people will be throwing parties in your house at the metaverse. That's insane.
Yeah, and there'll be like robot looking people there hanging out with you too. Like, it's just gonna like I was
Avatars and everything. Oh my
it's gonna
goodness.
be crazy, dude. Yeah.
That
I mean,
that's
movies warned us this was coming, right? We just weren't paying attention.
we thought it was just like, yeah, it's a big old fairy tale, but now we're living in the fairy tale.
Yeah. Now we're the joke.
No, exactly. That's crazy. That to me was, and I said that out loud. Like I thought it and then I said it out loud. Buy real estate in the metaverse, and I was just like, I never thought that like my mind would come to this place that I would be thinking about assets in a virtual reality. Is that
Yeah.
an asset?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is an asset. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
my thought is like, why couldn't I was thinking about this the other day as kind of like you, this is all new to me. I'm thinking like, why can't Lamar is a massive billboard company here. They have Lamar advertising. You call them and you put your ad on their billboard.
Hmm.
Like, why can't you own digital billboards in the metaverse and rent them out to companies?
You
Go to Coca-Cola or go to hey, they're walking by this museum and I own this billboard next to the museum. Do you
yeah.
want Coca-Cola's logo on here? All right. It's 20 grand a month to put your logo up here.
Watch
And if
what
I'm gonna go to T-Mobile and ask them.
yeah.
Like, that's a business, I'm sure.
Watch all these young people just build their own world, and all the, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but all the older folks that didn't want to get in with the program, they'll just be walking around the empty streets because everybody's
Yeah.
laying in their chair in the metaverse.
Yeah, they'll be hanging out in downtown Greensboro where there's nothing to do. And everyone else will be in the metaverse.
That's crazy. That blows my mind, man. Just to even think about that, and wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't even know how I would begin to explain that to my parents. Like, I feel like it would almost be like they wouldn't get it. Like, I would try.
They'd be like, son, you're possessed.
Yeah, we need to send you off to church camp. Something's wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay, back to commercial real estate in real life.
real life.
Real life. What were some of the take me through some of the challenges that, like, physical challenges, like, obviously because you don't come with experience in building and contracting and all that stuff, like things that didn't make sense to you of why things should happen that way. Like, that's super interesting for me.
So, could you say it maybe in a different way? I'm not sure I'm
So
understanding.
okay, for example, you get this brick building in downtown and you want to turn it into mixed use
Micro
downstairs, upstairs
food hall.
Airbnbs. And you're like, okay, let's do this. And then all of a sudden you find out, oh, well, to renovate this, I'm gonna need to all these furring, add all this wall, I'll do all of this. I'm gonna have to do this to the beams, to the trusses. I'm gonna have to reroute all this electrical. Like, what were some of the things that were like blew your mind?
Yeah. Well, starting with the first one, it took 2 months to find a contractor to get me a quote. Um, or it took
Wow.
him to get me the quote. It took a long time to locate it. So when you're not, and then what was crazy is after 2 months of to get the quote, he he quoted like $1 million to $1.5 million under what it should actually cost. So imagine that. Like
So did
you
you
never done.
did he sign the contract or no?
No, we decided not to go with him because it's like he told us he gave us a smaller number because he didn't want to scare us, but in turn it scared us away from him because we're like, dude, you didn't give us a realistic number.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to come in cheap so that we'll choose you, but you're not going to be able to do the work for the quote that you gave.
Yeah.
So I found that out by talking to other developer in the area who had developed most of the other buildings,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, my contractors quoted 1.2 to 1.5 million a year ago to fix this building. When I was looking at it, and my contractor quoted 700,000, so half of what. And now we have the budget at
Before
1 point.
material escalations.
Yeah, and we put the budget at 1.9 to 2.5 now, and he came in at 700,000.
Wow.
So yeah, so like that's one massive surprise. I was like, man, that could have ended very badly had I gone out and raised all this money, gotten the loan, and then 6 months in, he's like, hey, we're like $1 million short. We need $1 million more.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a huge issue. So I think like learning to find people with experience, listening to people around you, making friends with other developers. So I'm actually going to talk with one of the developers next week about, asking like, hey, can you just like let me kind of apprenticeship or like follow you around and just learn. This guy's 65.
Mm-hmm.
He probably has $100 million in real estate in the air, and he's developed a lot of, I'm like, I could probably learn a lot from this guy if I was more of a student than more of just like meeting him once a week and walking through a building.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be a great idea if someone's looking to get developed, go try to find a local developer and build a relationship with them and try to like get in the door. Even if you have to work for free, like, hey, don't pay me. I'll work for you. Like, just
Yeah.
tell me things to do so I can gain experience. Um, but yeah, I've learned like from him, I've learned like you need like a phase one environmental in some buildings to see if it's contaminated. If it was a dry cleaner at one point, you have to do a phase one environmental, which costs $35,000. So there's all kinds of things that I've learned along the way that I would have not learned. You know, what I've been kind of lucky. I feel like I'm kind of doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm meeting the right people, and I'm learning what I need to be learning because I kind of feel like I'm on like for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm doing something that I'm almost called to do. Like,
Everything's just falling together.
yeah, and it's been really hard. Like I'm not going to make it sound easy, but at the same time, like things are working out. I just have to keep going. Like when it gets hard, I can't just say, I'm just going to go get a job at Starbucks because this is just too much.
Yeah.
Like I want to be comfortable. Because even people at Starbucks they don't want to be doing that. So it's like do something you love and it'd be hard, or do something you hate and it's still hard. It's going
Yeah.
to be hard way. Choose your heart, I guess.
Dude, I love that. That is my favorite. It's as they
Yeah,
they say it's hard to be rich, it's hard to be poor. Choose your hard.
yeah,
So that's awesome, man. Banks Baker, sir. Thank you so much for making time,
yeah,
coming on, and just sharing your story. I've learned a ton and just had fun talking to you, and I'm sure the listeners did too. Learned. Hopefully, you guys were inspired if you're listening, because this is a cool story of somebody that just looking to develop their city, and everybody's always in a place of I don't want to. Okay, let me finish that. Everybody's always in a place of doubt, not literally, but like, I wish this would have been better. I wish my family could be better. I wish my home could be better. I wish my town hall could be better. I wish my friend group could be better. I mean, it's all about what we choose to do about it, right? We could either move away, go do whine about it, or just actually do something.
yeah.
So,
I think another thing is that people use the excuse of not having money to not pursue something like this. Like, well,
mm,
takes money to make money. That's a lie. And I can tell you that's a lie because right now I can show you my bank account and show you how much money I have. And I'll tell you, you tell me if it takes money, you know,
yeah,
literally I have no money right now. Like that's what's crazy is like, I'm doing this and I don't have any money. So like, and I'm not exaggerating. Like people think, oh, you're just saying that, but no, like I lost 25 grand a few weeks ago because I didn't fulfill the contract date for that brick building. So I'm still going to try to close on it. I've got other people committed capital to close, but I lost my 25 grand because I couldn't close on time. So like I'm out of money, but
Yeah.
I'm not stopping. So like if I just want to tell people out there, like if you think it takes money to make money, that's just a lie. That's just an excuse for you to not pursue it. So
Mm.
if you're already broke, what do you have to lose? Like, like just go for it. Like
Yeah.
you'll figure it out. It's gonna work out. Like you don't if I had $1 million right now, I probably wouldn't be pursuing this. And you probably wouldn't be pursuing your dream because you'd be comfortable, right?
100%.
Be hungry. You have to like it has to be about more than money. And like if I'm doing this and I'm not getting paid and I'm broke, like it obviously has more to it's more about than just money to me,
I,
right? Because I wouldn't still keep doing it if I was not getting paid, right?
yeah.
Go work at Starbucks for a month and not get paid. Will you still work there another month? No, you're gonna quit, right?
Yeah, you're
So
gonna.
I've paid in a long time and I haven't stopped. So that tells you that there's a bigger vision that I'm going for than just to make a bunch of money. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. And if you want to follow Banks Baker, all of the stuff is below in the description. All the links. If you're interested in throwing axes and you want to get that franchise all set up for you guys already, reach out as well. Thank you.
yeah, thank you guys.